The only thing I want to start with is just to point out, I mean, sometimes things that are very important are not particularly exciting, but yesterday something very important, and to some of us exciting, did happen. After 11 years and many millions of dollars and many false starts, the state of Indiana arrived at a modern accounting system. And it went live, and all so far has gone very well. But this is important because it means, first of all, we'll save a lot of money. There will be better service for citizens. And the state will be able to make real-time decisions. We'll be able to balance our checkbook every month and not simply once a year. So I just want to thank all the people who worked very, very hard to make this, to bring this off, to design, install the system, to train the employees, and this is all still ongoing. But it went live, as they say, yesterday. It's been used well over 1,000 times already, and so far so good. And just because it may strike some as a little mundane doesn't mean we shouldn't take note of it this morning, and I do that with pride. Questions, please?
Governor, the Indiana Court of Appeals struck down the voter ID law this morning, claiming that it doesn't treat voters fair and impartial because of the absentee voters and mail-in.
I think it's a preposterous decision. It's an extreme decision, and came in this case from a judge who's been reversed before, and I expect that to happen again. It'd be one thing if this had not already been litigated from the bottom up through the federal system, and if multiple courts, including the Supreme Court of the United States, hadn't already spoken. The legislature had every right to write that law, and it, after this decision, will be a footnote to history eventually.
Will you appeal it?
Sure. I mean, the Attorney General, I will, on behalf of the state.
Well, is there a possibility that you could try to rewrite the law to match the decision?
I don't think it'll be necessary. This is an extreme decision, and one that flies in the face of much better judges, frankly, and I look forward to its reversal.
It was, however, a unanimous decision, not just this one judge. Does that concern you at all?
No.
You see it as a partisan decision?
I think it's transparently so, but that's not really what's at issue. It's just bad law. It's an act of judicial arrogance to, and that's always a bad idea.
You mentioned that it was obviously upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court, but these judges were ruling on the Indiana Supreme Court language.
I understand, but there's nothing in the Indiana Constitution that goes beyond what the federal Constitution provides here.
Governor, Eli Lilly this week announced layoff 5,500 worldwide. It'll be obviously a great number here in the Indianapolis, central Indiana area. As part of some of the abatements and incentives you all received was to create a certain number of jobs. Have you folks started looking at perhaps maybe talking to Eli Lilly saying, hey, you promised X number of jobs, they weren't delivered. Maybe some of these tax incentives or abatements may have to be phased out since the jobs weren't promised.
Well, abatements are a local matter, but the but any state tax postponements are always performance-based, as we say. So if the jobs don't happen, those credits aren't awarded. Likewise, we go back now and audit and claw back in certain cases any that were awarded for jobs that then later went away. So we'll have a look and see. My recollection is that these arrangements, which are now many years old, preceded our administration, but have probably been honored in large part. Even if there is an impact in Indiana from this decision, on a net basis, Lilly has added an awful lot of jobs in the last 8 or 10 years. The state's ahead of the game. So we're concerned, obviously, that they have to retrench, but it's tough business, and we want them stronger for the long term.
Governor, you talked about the new computer system with the ongoing problems with the FSSA. You're coming up on the end
Right.
period where you're going to judge them as to whether to keep this in operation or not.
Right.
How is that going, and what are your,
Yeah.
which way are you leaning on that?
Yeah, well, there are going to be changes, and we've had some very productive conversations, both with people concerned about the system and with the federal authorities. I've said 100 times that we're going to move around here, we're going to act, and we're going to make change, and if we find out that the change we make is not the best one, we'll come back and do something different and learn from our mistakes, and that's what's going to happen here.
Change within the same vendor or changing to a new vendor?
Yeah. Now, the issue has nothing to do with the vendors. It has to do with the structure of the system and the way it tries to do its business. And a couple of the things that have been done really in the interest of more convenience for the applicants, being able to apply other than in person, over the phone, the internet, have not been working well. And so it's the concept of the system, and it has nothing to do with who's operating it.
Is it fair to say then that you decided not to cancel the contract and make a decision?
We'll just wait to the end of the month. We have some continuing conversations ongoing, and we'll have something more definitive to say soon.
Regardless of the contract, is the plan to keep it outside FSSA with some vendors?
You need to understand that 94% of FSSA is private contracts. Almost all of FFSA, Medicaid, other aspects of social service are done through contracts. This is the rule, not the exception. It's almost universally the way we deliver service.
And the expectation is this to remain part of that 94%?
Yes, please remember, at least a third of the people working on welfare are state employees. Only state employees make determinations as to who gets it and who doesn't. This has sometimes been overlooked.
Governor, Hamilton Southeastern School District looks like this week procured a lawyer to sue the state over the school funding formula. The Franklin Township School District in Marion County might join them. What's your reaction to school districts suing the state, saying the school funding formula is unfair and unequitable?
Well, I understand their frustration. The formula awards thousands of dollars more per student to other districts, but the legislature has a right to write the bill that way. You know, the same judge who just opined on the voter ID law was reversed not long ago on a, as far as I can tell, very, very similar suit coming from a different set of plaintiffs. And so that would suggest to me that there's not a lot of future in this, but I understand the nature of their concern. But it's really for the legislature to make these decisions, just as in the case of voter ID.
Governor, how successful was the trade mission?
Yeah. Well, that'll all be something we decide in the course of time, but I'm awfully glad we made it, as I have been about all the others. There's no question that it's a good idea to go thank those companies who have brought thousands of jobs to Indiana and might bring more. Indiana clearly stands apart among the Midwest states now, both in terms of results and, I think, good relationships with the Japanese business community. On the case of China, I'm very glad we went. Maybe should have gone a year or two sooner, but I don't think we missed any opportunities. There are clearly people there now preparing to invest in the United States and create some jobs, and we wanted to explain to them where the best place for that would be.
I was told by the IEDC that you know, we have some 220 Japanese firms here, but only a handful of Chinese,
right,
and very few employees.
Yeah.
Do you think this trade mission could help turn that around?
Well, it's not a matter of turning it around. The Chinese are, there are very few Chinese investments anywhere in the United States. We're at the front edge of that. I would say that the emergence of China as a two-way partner is only now where the Japanese were 25 years ago. So I'm very glad we didn't wait any longer. It's been suggested every single year that we go to China as well as Japan, and I declined to do that until this year because I wasn't sure that it'd be a good investment of our time. But I think by now it is, and And from now on, it probably will be.
In a report from China, you indicated that there were a couple of companies interested in making site visits in Indiana.
Yeah.
Can you tell us where those sites are?
Well, when I mean site visit, I mean to Indiana. If and when they come, as we always do, we'll show them multiple places. There's a lot of variety in this state in terms of, and one site will match one business better than another. We always show them a good cross-section.
How strong are those prospects?
Hard telling, but they've got hard cash, and we want to bring some of those dollars back here and put them to work hiring Hoosiers. And again, clearly, these companies are making long-term strategic decisions that include coming to the United States.
As far as Japan, they elected a new national government just before you left for Asia. Do you see any difference for Indiana and what possibly make?
Impossible to say, and we talked a lot with our Japanese friends about that. They don't have much better sense than we do over here what this really landmark event will mean. The policies of the new government are very ambiguous at this point. They were elected on a very vague promise of change, and they're a very diverse coalition, and their leader has been not entirely clear about what direction he'd like to go, so too soon to know.
Governor, is Indiana playing any role at all in trying to help get the Olympics to Chicago in hopes that it will boost the region and have some games there?
Mm-hmm. Well, we've, at the request of Mayor Daley, joined him in certain appeals, signed some letters, tried to make it plain that Indiana's excited about that possibility and would love to play some role, hosting some of the events perhaps. So we're rooting for them. Well, we haven't been asked to do it. We've done everything we've been asked to do by Chicago.
Back to Eli Lilly, I'm curious, given your experience before and kind of the analysis of the pipeline, how things are going, how should Hoosiers read into that decision? Is this a company that's future is down? Is this just a rough spot? And you have a better awareness of the company than most. What should folks take away from that announcement?
It's a great company and well run. It's preparing for its future in a very tough competitive environment. You know, I was there and had some lead responsibilities in a very parallel situation in the late 90s, preparing for the expiration of the Prozac patent. I used to show people at that time a chart. No pharmaceutical company had ever gone through a patent loss of that size relative to the size of the company without a life-changing event, either disappearing, being bought by someone else, or acquiring someone else as a short-term fix. Lilly's the first company that did it. I predict they'll do it again, but you only stay independent, and you only continue to succeed as Lilly has by acting decisively and before the crisis arrives. So every Hoosier should really wish them well. We're not happy, of course, that they have to pull back a little bit, but let's remember, as we were discussing with Abdul, they've grown an awful lot in the last decade, and we're not giving up all those gains. And secondly, these are the kind of difficult decisions that businesses make that really prove their value in the long run.
Governor, Lake County officials are still balking at holding their November transit referendum.
Yeah.
Are there any consequences if they skip it, or do you have any advice for what they should do?
I don't. I mean, the legislature wrote the bill the way they did, and it's the law of the state. There's nothing I can do about it. Nothing within my authority. So.
The way
Well, depends where you sit. You know, if you're one of those districts that gets several $1,000s more per student, I suppose you think it works pretty well. You know, I haven't met to be honest, I haven't met I haven't seen a school district yet that didn't want more money. So maybe no one's entirely satisfied with the formula. But I think the legislature does the best it can to balance the interests. Clearly, it's a good idea within limits to award more money to districts that have special challenges and lots of students with individual challenges. And the question is, how much is the appropriate degree?
Governor, there's a fight brewing in the next session over take-out Sunday alcohol sales and allowing grocery stores and convenience stores to sell cold beer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an opinion on either of those?
No.
Excellent. I don't have to write anything.
You're welcome.
No web posting there.
You're welcome. The usual fees will apply.
Got any big plans this weekend?
In fact, yeah. Melissa Daniels' wedding Saturday. I trust a good time will be had by all. I did been telling people, you know, the girl said, "Dad, you're cutting it kind of close. Just getting back from Asia 2 days ahead of time." And I said, "Well, don't worry." I said, if I get stuck over there, I've handled all the essentials, the checkbook's at home, and I've left a cardboard cutout of me in a tuxedo for the pictures, and that pretty well describes the father's role in American weddings. You know, the Chinese have a long history and in so many ways a more civilized society. Over there, the father of the bridegroom pays for it, which I find a much more civilized custom than the way we do it.
Only because you have 4 girls.
Yeah. It's kind of like school districts. Where you sit determines your point of view. Thank you, everybody.